Alright guys, now I know so many people want to come to Scotland and see the Northern Lights. I'm here to say in this video that it's possible and I'm going to tell you how you can do it. But first of all, now is the 25th of April. The other night, which should be too late in the winter season to see Northern Lights, but the other night we had some of the most spectacular Northern Lights I've ever seen in Scotland. It was incredible. I want to show you those clips first before we do anything else, and we were only 15 minutes outside of Edinburgh. Check this out. This is late to see the Northern Lights, but just had a red alert say that it was KP8, and so there's a chance we might see them. We're heading off right now in the car. We jumped and grabbed all of our stuff, and this is how it goes. If you want to see the Northern Lights, you have to be prepared to jump in the car and go. We're going to a place called Press and Pans. It's going to be pitch dark. Let's see what we can see. Let's go. Variety at Press and Pans. I think we can see them. I'm going to get the camera out. This is incredible. I can see them. Got this camera here doing a time lapse. This video camera, let's see what it comes out with. It's taking like one shot every 30 seconds, and hopefully in a little second you'll see a snap. Look at that, look at the colours, purple, greens, amazing. Oh wow. What time is it now? It is 11:37. It's 6 degrees Celsius, which is freezing for this time of year, but I think the aurora has went behind the clouds now. The big bit of clouds just came over our heads. And I think it has just disappeared for a little bit, but I'm going to go and get my camera, rescue it. It's there, still doing a time lapse. I'm going to grab it. So this is the back of my camera right now, right? I'm inside the car now. If I see if I can get the last shot, so I can do, this was a time lapse. Time lapses usually show it better off. Let's see. Wow. See the whole event there that I just filmed and I took photos of. This is it condensed into like 5 seconds of film. That's pretty cool. Well, that was an amazing experience, an amazing night, and we saw some epic Northern Lights because of a big solar storm that hit unexpectedly. And so we rushed out last minute, grabbed our gear and headed out. And that's basically what this comes down to. You need to have the Aurora Northern Lights apps on your phone, and when they tell you that it's happening, you need to be able to go out, and then you need to have 3 or 4 other things, which I'll tell you about in a little second, in your favour. Now, the photos from that shoot that I just did the other night there, they've ended up in like various different publications this week. 6 in total. It was in the Edinburgh Evening News, it was in Edinburgh Live, it was in the Scotsman, it was in the Express, East Lothian Courier, like a number of big publications in Scotland all featured those photos, which came from my blog. And speaking of the blog, I will put a full list of all the things you need to know about seeing the Northern Lights in Scotland, everything you need to be prepared for, down below in a link to Dreaming of Scotland. Make sure you guys check that out because it will really let you be fully prepared for what you need to do to see the Northern Lights in Scotland if you want to see them. Now, like I said, it's kind of luck of the draw to see the Northern Lights in Scotland. It's not impossible, so you might see them like 10 or 20 times over a winter period in Scotland, which is not terrible odds, right? That gives you an okay chance. But actually, the big solar storms that will allow you to see them really good in Scotland are pretty rare here, to be honest with you. Anyway, I want to give you some tips to help increase your chances. First of all, you need to download the apps, the relevant apps that will allow you to kind of see what the solar flare is doing on any given day. The KP index is the number you really want to follow. It's very complicated, right? And there's lots of like scientific experts out there who can give you a really full rundown of what the KP index means. But the long and short of it is, if you're not complicated and you're not technical, like I am not, the higher the number, the better the chance you have of seeing the Northern Lights. To see them in Scotland, especially here in the south of Scotland, the KP index needs to be 5 or above. The footage from earlier in the clip was a KP8. KP8 is what you really need if you're going to see like really strong Northern Lights like we did. But KP8 is pretty rare. I would say it probably happens twice each winter. Alright, so download the Northern Lights apps that will notify you to when the Northern Lights are actually happening, and make sure the KP index is 5 or above at least. So that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do is you need to have luck in your favour in terms of the weather. To see the Northern Lights in Scotland, it needs to be cloudless. Or, like you saw in my other video there, you need to have a period, you know, even if it's like 15 minutes or half an hour, when there are no clouds, you have a gap in the clouds. Because if there's clouds, you basically will not see the northern lights. It's simple as that. So you need to have a clear sky. You need to be able to see the stars. And adding to that, you need to also not be in the phase of the moon cycle when it's a full moon, because the full moon also interrupts the northern lights. So you need a clear starry sky, but then no full moon, basically. Those are all things that are kind of out of your control, right? The third thing you want to do is get away from the city lights. So Edinburgh and Glasgow are cities you're probably going to be staying in when you visit Scotland. To see the northern lights properly, you want to drive about 10 or 15 minutes outside of the cities and face north, all right? And one of the ideal places to do that close to Edinburgh is the East Lothian coastline, because on that coast, the coast is basically facing north. The northern lights in Scotland, by the way, is only going to appear on the horizon, the northern horizon, so you need to be looking north. It tends not to be right above you here because we are so far south for the northern lights. So pick a location where you can see their northern horizon and that you can see that it's clear, no interruptions, no mountains or no buildings in your way, and it's clear, starry skies. And the last thing I would say about the northern lights in Scotland, and this probably goes without saying, is it needs to be in winter time, because in Scotland, because technically we are actually quite far north, from spring until late summer, we get really, really late evenings. And what that means is the sun sets very late. Right now, at the end of April, the sun is setting after 9 p.m. And it doesn't actually fully get dark until after 10 p.m. That's not ideal for seeing the northern lights. You need long, dark nights to see the northern lights properly. And what that means is, ideally, it's going to be September through to about April time. After April, the sky is really too light all night to see the northern lights properly. So between the months of like April, late April, May certainly, and I would say September, mid-September, those are kind of off limits for seeing the northern lights. It really needs to be September, late September, especially until April. Ideally in midwinter when you get long dark nights. So those are all my main tips about seeing the northern lights in Scotland. Hopefully you find them useful. Like I said, I've got a blog post which you'll see in the link down below, which has all the information that you will need to see the northern lights in Scotland. It used to be that you needed fancy camera equipment to capture the northern lights because you needed to do like long exposure photos which would, you know, show the lights a lot stronger than they would normally appear on camera. But nowadays, with the technological advances in smartphones, most smartphones will actually pick up the northern lights quite well because they have these like kind of night photo features. Like most of the photos you saw from earlier on, those clips, were just taken on my iPhone. So nowadays, modern technology has allowed us to get lots of, you know, decent-ish photos using just our phones. Whereas in the past, you needed cameras that could do long exposure photographs. Not the case anymore. So that's it. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you've subscribed to Dreaming of Scotland. If you haven't already, do so. I'm going to show you one last thing before we go. A couple of years ago, 2017, I think it was, or 2018. Anyway, a couple of years back, we had a solar flare that was like a KP8. Mega explosion. And what that means is we could see them in Edinburgh city centre. So I actually watched the Northern Lights from Craigmillar Castle, looking over at Edinburgh city centre, over Arthur's Seat, right in the middle of the city. And this is what we saw.
These people in their cars and taxis driving by, totally oblivious to what I'm watching here. Oh my Jesus Christ. Look at that. This is nuts. This is fucking nuts. I've never seen anything like that. Oh my word. Oh my God. Look at that. Guys, we're in Edinburgh. Look at that. What's my camera doing? So look. My camera is there set up. It's catching it. I've never seen anything like this. Oh my word. Like, if you're seeing it on an iPhone, that means like this is strong. People pay thousands of pounds to go to Iceland to see this kind of shit. I'm not often speechless, but tonight I am speechless. Oh my God, that is the Northern Lights here in Edinburgh. Can you believe that? This is on an iPhone live, guys. This is the most crazy thing I've ever seen. Oh my word. You're watching the Northern Lights live on my iPhone. Look at that. Look at that. That's crazy. That is absolutely insane. I can't contain myself. This is the Northern Lights here in Edinburgh. Look at that. This is Edinburgh, guys. Look at that. People in the car, stop and look up at the sky right now. Oh my God. Oh my God, that is incredible. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh, I'm shaking. I can't hold the phone. I'm actually shaking, guys. This is insane. Oh, it's dancing across the sky. Holy moly. Look at that.